Hey YouTube, this is Nash Taters. Welcome back to another episode of War of the Visions. So today's topic of conversation is going to be about Halloween. Obviously Halloween is coming up next week, and it was unexpected that we got the 2 units, right? Because I learned a lot the last couple of days. I did a little digging and I figured out potentially the vision card that could make a humongous impact on global server. So let's go ahead and talk about the details of that card in this specific video. So Little Leela and Ryu the Zombie were both released in Japan, and recently Little Leela was released, I think maybe about a month ago, and then Ryu was released actually still going on in JP right now. So that is very interesting that the producer Hiroki decided to do this. But I think that's a big thank you for him, right? And that's a big thank you for the global development team. It's definitely a pleasant surprise for all of us. Last night I didn't get much sleep, to be quite honest. One, I'm trying to reverse my schedule from the previous working, and that's always been one thing that I hate about working night shift, is that I have to keep trying to balance out the sleeping thing. Of course, I was thinking about War of the Visions, and I realized I have a big decision to make, and that's going to be, should I be summoning for those 2 units, or should I be worried about the new vision card? And since I didn't cover the vision card yesterday, I feel like it's a good time to cover that card. The card is called Exorcists, as you can see here, pulled from the video itself of the official channel. And by the way, if you haven't done so, go check it out now. Hiroki does talk about the gifts that he's about to give us. So this vision card is called Exorcist, and let's talk about the abilities that comes with it. Now bear in mind, this info was extracted from the JP livestream, so this card hasn't been implemented on JP yet. So on the official video released, they talked about that the Exorcist card is coming to global, but it's going to have a little tweak in comparison to the JP version. The JP version states this: for the party ability, you will have slash resistance penetration. Now, my understanding is this: slash resistance is basically resistance or percentage decrease when you're encountering an enemy slash attack, whether it be a basic skill or an actual special skill, or maybe even a super move. Either way, the resistance really means the defense, right? Meaning a percentage reduction. Penetration means you're ignoring some of that defense. So this is probably going to be the future. I already noticed a trend. When the game was first introduced, we were introduced with a lot of slashing units. Subsequently, they introduced us to additional magical users, and then they started working now towards, say, piercing. Along that way, somewhere in the middle, we're injected with the missile units, like Lucia and Frederica. So that seemed to be like this cyclic rotation. And I think perhaps we're going to be getting Strike, which obviously on the JP server, they're having a lot of fun with the One Punch Man, as I guess apparently they're calling him. And I can't actually wait, because I'm a huge fan of monks. So I personally would definitely be having huge consideration for that specific unit. So I think that's the trend, and of course, to make things more balanced, we don't want to see a lot of defenses where we're doing like very little damage to enemy units. So they're adding the penetration part. And I think it makes perfect sense, because if you have too many solid defenses in terms of having too much resistance, it's going to drag out the fights, and it makes the fights, I guess, more or less harder. And in order to balance that out, the penetration added for each specific resistances in terms of rotation makes perfect sense in terms of progression, and obviously I said it in terms of balance as well. For the bestowed effect of the Exorcists, the unit equipping this card will have defense penetration up, but is limited to a great sword user. And on top of it, it also grants an additional ability, and the ability is lower the evasion of the target, and then subsequently deal a 3-hit damage. That is pretty good. Now, obviously, some of this will be changed for the global version, because they already mentioned that. If I was to venture to guess, I think what they're going to probably do is either 1, remove the ability in which to lower evasion and do the hit, or they're just going to add more restrictions. or not add more restrictions, but lower the restrictions. Currently, the card is limited to great sword users, as I mentioned before. So that's going to be your soldiers, super sexy Stern, normal Stern, Odoa. Those are the first characters that come to mind. And I think what they're going to end up doing is maybe they'll add other sorts of weapon users, right? Maybe axe users, right? So we all love Yerma on this global server. So I think it's possible that they may actually expand that. Or they can completely just nullify the effect, which I think will make the card a lot more powerful if they got rid of the restriction on the greatsword users. So my feeling is they're not going to do that route. My personal feeling is they're probably going to be getting rid of the idea of the actual ability, which may or may not make sense, but obviously we're playing the speculation game, and personally I'm not a huge fan of playing that game. I'd rather just play War of Visions itself and let the chips fall where they may. So that leads to my final point. I have to wait for the actual release of the card on Wednesday to make a real decision whether or not I should be summoning for this card. So here are some other things I learned during last night's tumbling through my bed, in my bed actually. I learned that I made some mistakes, and some big ones by that. I learned that when I summoned for the vision cards, such as Fenrir, I did not actually purchase all the shards to level the vision card like an idiot. And that's a big mistake, right? When you're given an opportunity to get a lot of vision card shards, get them, because it doesn't cost that much to max level an actual UR vision card, believe it or not. At 50 Visiors per shard, and a vision card UR quality is 270 shards to max. Plus, the game itself likes to sell you more vision card shards. So during the initial release of a card, for example, let's just take a look at Titan, for example. So Titan right now is the featured card, and guess what? They'll give you 75 shards at 3,750 gems. That's pretty good, right? So that means you officially got 1 star, 2 star awakened. That means you're gonna need 75 plus additional 125, 200 more shards. That means you have to trigger the Whimsy Shop quite a bit, but you also have abilities to get more shards at this time. Obviously, if you're a spender, you can just simply keep buying the daily purchases and get some of those bonuses. But most of the time, we're going to be triggering the Whimsy Shop and spending 50 Visiors per shard. So that's only 6,000 more. Am I right? 200 times 50? What am I saying? That's not 6,000, that's 10,000 more. So here's what I'm looking at. At only the cost of 13,750 gems, or Visiors if you will, you can build a maximized UR vision card. Now obviously you will still need the vision spheres, the rainbow spheres, and that's going to be a little bit difficult for a lot of folks because you can't afford to be doing that every single other week to build a brand new vision card. But that's the thing, right? It's roughly to half the cost of maximizing a UR unit. So I made a huge emphasis about a month and a half ago about going through all the vision cards and how important it was to work on your trifecta, equipment, espers, and vision cards. This is a great opportunity to make that change for everyone if you wanted to do that route and level up some of your powerful vision cards. And here's the other thing I've figured out. Now recently I purchased one of the tickets in which it will give me 100 shards of a specific vision card that I want to use on. So here's the thing, right? I learned one thing about this game is the game likes to cycle vision cards that have espers attached to them. So Shiva, Ramu, Diablos, all of those, right? We're dealing with that now. Currently Odin is the featured one. And you have the ability to spend more gems to summon for them. But the other thing is you can simply buy some of the shards when it's featured, as you can see here. So essentially what that means is it's much easier to actually maximize Esper/vision card combos because of the fact that the game likes to feature those over and over. And the other thing that we mentioned before is that the mock shop has also made some changes in the direction in which to help you build your vision card faster. In the guild medals, you see that they have added these 3, well, as you can see, vision card/Esper combos. What about those other cards that they rarely feature, if feature at all? powerful cards like Trousseau, powerful cards like Echoing Screams, or any of the other cards that do not have an Esper attached to it. I think it's much better to use your ticket selectors for those shards for those other cards because they're never featured. And it would take an ungodly amount of time to get those things maxed. And I use Ultimate.jp as a guide, and I realized that the folks that are creating that website really enjoy Trousseau, really enjoy Echoing Screams, until they're knocked down by something further down the road in terms of power creeping. Then these are two of the best cards in the game in terms of increasing power for your magic users and increasing power for your slash users. So I think that's a much better way to use your shards. So the short notice of the Halloween releasing units, and of course the brand new vision card for both servers, is something to think about for everyone. Now usually people love to see should you save or should you summon videos for these type of units. I don't really think I need to do them because one, I think for the most part people weren't prepared for this. So I think people have to kind of make a decision on the whim. Personally, I have to decide to see what the vision card is going to look like in terms of changes for global, and then make that decision whether or not if I want to actually go for that card or one of the units. Personally, I don't think I'm going to go for both units, maybe any of those units at all. But if I had to choose and be my final decision, I decided I'm going to go with Little Leela. And for the rest of you, obviously, if you weren't prepared for this, it's an easy skip. But for a few who are planning to do this in the very short notice, and you're not spending, you're going to have to make a very, very tough decision. And personally, I don't think I should make that decision for you, obviously, because, well, I am really biased in terms of the Little Leela. Both units are going to be great, by the way. They're both going to be a very good addition to your team. And then as far as for those of you who are spending money anyways, this is a perfect opportunity to dump a lot of cash and give it to Gumi and Square Enix, right? But whatever the decision you guys make, I hope you guys have good luck on Wednesday morning and summon to your heart's delight. Hope you guys get the unit or the card that you want. And until next time, take care of yourself and all your loved ones. Nash Tater and his family out. Peace.